Today is going to be the first lesson that we do on YouTube, the first of many hopefully to come. And I'm going to make these videos associated with different levels. So as you read through the videos, you'll see a subject and a level. The level is in relation to how long you've been riding and the level at which you're riding. And the subject is going to kind of let you know what we're talking about for that particular video. So this particular video is going to be a level 1 video. Those videos are for people who have never ridden before, who are just starting out riding. So those of you who have had maybe 15 or fewer lessons or rides on a horse. Today's video is going to be talking about rein contact. The reins are these usually leather but can be rope pieces that are attached to the horse that allow us to steer and send the horse different communicative signals. So typically we think about them as being attached to a bit that goes in a horse's mouth, but it doesn't always have to be that way. There are several people that ride without bits in their horses' mouths. But they're always called reins. So whatever you use to steer and turn and send signals to the horse's front end, we're going to call a rein. Today we're going to talk about two different kinds of rein contact. There's direct contact, which means that you hold each rein directly so that you have independent signals to each side of the horse's mouth or each side of the horse's face, depending on whether you have a bit in the horse's mouth or not. So this is called direct rein contact. So separate hands for each rein, direct rein contact. The second way in which you can hold the reins is called indirect rein contact. And that means that you're holding both reins in one hand. And you're going to always hold both reins in your hand that is not dominant. So whatever hand you don't ride with is the hand that you're going to be holding your reins in. And the reason why that you hold your hands in the indominant hand is so that your dominant hand can be used for other things, whether it's throwing a rope if you're roping cattle, or grabbing a flag if you're running through a flag race, using a lance if you're jousting. But you're always going to hold your reins in your hand that's not dominant in indirect rein contact. So again, these are the two different types of ways in which you can hold your reins: indirect or direct. We're going to start off learning how to hold your reins in direct contact, so that's two hands. You can do this at home and practice before your lesson or after your lesson by taking a piece of string, yarn, rope, whatever you have at home, tying a knot into it, and you can tie this end to a chair, the wall, have another person hold it, but you're going to practice putting the knot down, waving your hands out, and picking the reins back up. So holding the rein in one hand, sliding it through, and then weaving your fingers through the reins. In direct rein contact, the rein goes through your ring finger and pinky. The three fingers in the middle hold the leather of the rein or the rope of the rein, and your thumb sits on top. So both hands are the same. Ring finger and pinky, the rein goes through it. Three fingers in the middle holds the leather, and thumbs on top. And the reason that we have this rein hold is so that we can move our wrist and be more agile with our fingers in sending signals to the horse. So remember that the horse is really sensitive. They can feel the touch of a fly on them. And we're going to try to be as sensitive when we send them signals or communicate with them with our hands. So just closing your finger around the rein and being able to be agile through your wrist and sending them signals means that we can send them signals more quietly. So when we first start out riding, we may end up moving our hand a lot to tell them to turn. But as we become better riders, we want to be almost unnoticeable in sending our signals so that people observing us, and the horse as well, can barely perceive that we're sending a signal to the horse, and the horse is that responsive. So again, at home, what you're going to practice, first of all, is just picking up your reins. So throwing them away, whatever rope or string or yarn that you're using, and picking them up. So that your ring finger and pinky, the rein is through your ring finger and pinky, leather part is holding the rein, thumbs on top. Once you have that and you've practiced that and you feel like you're very agile at it and you can do it quickly, the next thing to think about and to practice is keeping your hands in front of you. So we always want to keep our hands in front of the saddle, and the reason for that is if our hands become back behind the saddle, it throws our upper body backwards and throws us out of our center of balance. So hands in front of us is very important. As you're practicing this at home, practice keeping your elbows tight to your body, thumbs close together, hands in front of you, or in front of where your saddle would be. I'm sitting in a Western saddle today, but the same applies for an English saddle. So always thinking about your hands being in front of you so that your posture stays in the perfect center of balance, which is for your shoulder, your hip, and your heel to be in a straight line. So practicing at home, first of all, picking up the reins. Secondly, keeping your hands in front of you. And step number 3 would be practicing pretending as though you're turning the horse. So in preparation for your first lesson, or maybe even your 10th lesson, think as though you're turning your horse and tell yourself that you're going to turn it to the right, and see if you can do that in a quiet way. So first of all, you can start out really big and practice turning it to the right. And then you want to get really, really good so that you can do it really subtly. And this might be a good time to have somebody else hold the other end of the rope, and you close your finger around that rein, and they tell you at what point they can feel your touch. So asking the horse really quietly to turn to the right, at what point can the other person feel that you're closing your fingers around the right rein? Same to the left. So practicing turning to the left, start out in a big way that you're turning the horse to the left, and practice bringing it closer together, thumbs touching, and asking the horse to turn to the left quietly. So that's direct rein contact for level 1, thinking about, first of all, picking up the reins, secondly, hands in front of you for balance, and thirdly, thinking about turning the horse from left to right. Indirect rein contact, we pick up, again, the reins in your non-dominant hand. So in my case, it's my left hand because I write with my right hand. And you want to practice the same thing that you did with your direct rein contact by throwing away your rope, yarn, or reins if you had them at home, and then practicing picking them up. So in indirect rein contact, both reins are going to go in one hand, and I like to carry my reins in a similar way as direct rein contact, where the rein goes through my ring finger and pinky, 3 fingers hold onto the leather, and thumb kind of sits to the side in indirect rein contact versus sitting upright like it would in direct rein contact. So that's step number 1, practicing picking up your rein. Same thing applies for indirect rein contact as direct rein contact, thinking about keeping your non-dominant hand in front of you for balance. Your dominant hand is usually going to be sitting at your side or on your leg or on your thigh unless you're using it. So if I was picking up a flag, I would move it forward. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of at your side, keeping balance kind of in a neutral position. So step 1, picking up your rein in your indominant hand, just as so. Step 2, practicing keeping your hand in front of you to maintain balance. And step 3 is going to be practicing turning to the left and right, just like you did with direct rein contact. In indirect rein contact, we use neck pressure to teach the horse how to move. So if I want to send the horse to the right or turn the horse to the right, I'm going to move my whole hand to the right and use this kind of neck pressure against the horse's neck to move his head around to the right. So as you practice at home, think about turning to the right and then releasing as though your horse is turned, and turning to the left and then releasing as though your horse is turned. So those are the couple of things that we teach in our first few lessons on the horse. if you can practice them at home and get really quick at picking up your reins and really good at turning from left to right in both indirect and direct rein contact, it's going to be a lot easier once you get on the horse. So that's